Welcome into Saints Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Trace Girouard. And as for what we're getting into on today's show, we have an update around the offensive coordinator search. And Saints Wire, they put out a mock draft, and I'm going to give my take and break down the selection that they made. And if you want a shout out, I'm going to tell you how you can earn one at the end of the video for tomorrow's live show. So stick around and hang out with us for the next 10 to 15 minutes. But before we dive into today's Saints news and rumors, got to give a big time shout out to the presenting sponsor, which is the #1 daily fantasy sports app in North America, baby. Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and plug in promo code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. How Prize Picks works. It's daily fantasy sports. You pick more or less on the projected stats, and voila, you can win some real money. So normally in our videos, we can talk about our sponsors a little bit later, but I had to just tell you guys about this deal. By no means do I want the Chiefs to win. I want Taylor Swift fans everywhere crying on Super Bowl Sunday. But this deal right here, Patrick Mahomes, more than a half passing yard, I mean, come on, that's free money right there. So I'm putting that in my projections. Isaiah Pacheco, I just need him to score a touchdown, find the end zone on the ground or through the air, and I'm making some money there. And Brock Purdy, I'm liking what I'm seeing from Sturdy Purdy. That man is a bad mamma jamba, and I'm telling you, I think he's going to go more than 248.5 passing yards. So you can ride my picks, you can tail my picks. No matter what you do, just do it with Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS, plug in that promo code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. And because I love you, all that information is in the comment section and description of this video. All right, let's talk about the offensive coordinator search update. Tom Pelissero early this morning, putting out this post on X saying, wide receiver coach Greg Lewis will interview today for the Saints OC job per source. Lewis, the former NFL wide receiver, won 2 Super Bowls on Andy Reid's staff in Kansas City before joining Baltimore this past season. Now let's take a look at Greg Lewis's resume in the NFL because he did coach at the collegiate level over at San Diego and had another stop, but I want to focus on the NFL run that he had. From 2003 to 2010, he was a player. And from 03 to 08, he was with the Philadelphia Eagles. In 2009, joined the practice squad of the New England Patriots. Went over to Minnesota from 2009 to 2010 and was a wide receiver and got his coaching start in the NFL in New Orleans as an offensive assistant under Sean Payton. But in 2016, moved over to the Philadelphia Eagles to be their wide receiver coach. Makes some sense because he was a player there. And then from 2017 to 2022, he was over at Arrowhead Stadium coaching it up all year long and here all football season. In 2017 to 2020 as the wide receiver coach, and then in 2021 to 2022 as the running backs coach. And then in 2023, he made a big-time impact in Baltimore as the wide receivers coach. And his impact was very positive, and it was very good. Now, the production was much better, and obviously the pass catchers in Baltimore did improve. They didn't have Zay Flowers. They didn't have Odell Beckham Jr. in 2022, but he managed to bring the best out of Zay and get some pretty good production out of OBJ. So let's look at the receiving stats from 2022 compared to 2023. Now, Mark Andrews, the tight end, he was the leading receiver in 2022 for Baltimore and Lamar Jackson. And in 23, it was number 4, Zay Flowers, leading the charge as a wide receiver. So interesting enough, pass catcher, the leading pass catcher in 22, wasn't a wide receiver, but that was the case this past season. And you can see the numbers on your screen. The production on every aspect was better in 2023. And including that number at the bottom, the interceptions, the wide receivers and the pass catchers in Baltimore were able to get more time and be able to come down with more catches, leading to less interceptions for Lamar Jackson. And partially, that's better play by Lamar. But I also do think that says something about the pass catchers bringing in more catches, having more receptions, and being more reliable for Lamar and not having to, throw up a prayer ball to maybe get picked off. So if you do hire Lewis, I do think that it wouldn't be a bad hire. I don't know if it's a great hire, though. But if you go with this guy as your offensive coordinator, the Saints could address the trenches on the offensive and defensive side of the ball in free agency. and then they can focus on skill players in the draft so they can develop with the head coach of the offense. Because why I say the head coach of the offense? Dennis Allen's a defensive-minded guy, so whoever is the OC is the head coach of the offensive side of the ball. And now here's 8 guys that you could go and draft in the first round at number 14 overall. You don't see Marvin Harrison Jr., you don't see Malik Neighbors, because those guys are going to be top 5, top 10 picks, if you ask me. But Brian Thomas, Ladd McConkey, Rome Odunze, Jalen Polk, Troy Franklin, Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell, and Keon Coleman are all options at number 14 overall, as well as a plenty other pass catchers that are going to be trying to make the name for themselves in the NFL draft in 2024. So share your thoughts for me, Saints fans. Would you hire Greg Lewis to be the next OC? Just give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Here at Chat Sports, we love audience interaction, so I want to hear from you. And if this is the first time you've come across one of our videos, be sure to make that known in the comment section so I can give you some extra love, because I reply to almost every single comment. So my take on hiring Greg Lewis, I don't think it's a bad hire. Like, I think that it would be a good hire. I think that it would be a better hire than John Gruden. I think it would be a better hire than Mike Sullivan, but I'd rather go a different direction. I think I'd rather bring in somebody that could be a bigger impact in the quarterback aspect and can be a little bit more creative. It's not that I don't believe in Greg Lewis. It's just that I think that there's better options out there. And here is the updated Saints OC tracker. So Girouard Johnson, he could be a guy. Now, here's one thing. I want to address Girouard Johnson really fast. Obviously, Ben Johnson is not going to Washington. So Bobby Slowick, the offensive coordinator in Houston, may have the opportunity to go and be a head coach somewhere else. Maybe Girouard Johnson stays in Houston. Maybe he goes somewhere else. We have to see what happens with Bobby Slowick first. But Clint Kubiak, Brian Griese, those are also names that the Saints are interested in. You can't interview them until after the Super Bowl. Ronald Curry, he's an internal guy. I think that he would be a pretty good hire as well. I want to see what he could possibly do. Honestly, I think he should have gotten play calling duties at some point in the season this past year. Mike Sullivan, I'm just going to go ahead and say pass. No thank you. Quarterbacks in Pittsburgh stink since Ben Roethlisberger has been gone. And Greg Lewis, he is the guy we just talked about. So like I just mentioned a second ago, expect the offensive coordinator search to be extended because, like I mentioned, Clint Kubiak and Brian Griese, they can't interview until after the Super Bowl. So they're focused on what they're doing right now. They're focused on trying to go win the Super Bowl for the 49ers. So that is why I think that this decision could be put off a little bit further since the Niners are still alive. And here's the thing. I think it's worth waiting because I really like the idea of hiring Clint Kubiak. Brian Griese also could be a great option. So shout them out for me, Saints fans. Who do you want to be the next OC? You want it to be Girouard Johnson? Do you want it to be Clint Kubiak, John Gruden? Who do you want it to be? Let me know and shout them out in the comments section. And while you're down there, guys, you have to pass it anyway. So hit that big red subscribe button. You see it right under the video because we're going to keep you updated on all news and all updates around this offensive coordinator search and around this football team. Plus, we are going to be live tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central Time, so I encourage you to join. Turn on your notifications so that way you don't miss out on our live coverage or any other videos or content we put out on the channel. I encourage you to lock us in and subscribe right this second before it's too late. All right, kind of shifting gears, I wanted to talk about some other NFL news and some updates that kind of came in. Pete Carmichael, he's headed to Denver. Jeff Duncan posting this today. So the pipeline from New Orleans to Denver continues to just grow. And here's my reaction. Y'all seen Dodgeball? I feel shocked. Like, we all saw this comment. But, just wanted to address this. Good luck, Pete. Thank you for your service. Thank you for an awesome handful of years in New Orleans. Helped us win a Super Bowl. And at the end of the day, without Pete Carmichael, the Super Bowl isn't getting won. A lot of players have said that. He was very, very impactful for the New Orleans offense for a long time. And obviously, the tenure in with the Saints did not end the way that we all wanted it to. However, or not the way we wanted to, I guess the way he wanted it to. But at the end of the day, he is headed to Denver, so he has another job. Good luck, Pete. I think you're going to need it out there with the Broncos. But let's get into that mock draft reaction. Back on track here. Saints Wire. They did a mock draft and had the New Orleans Saints selecting wide receiver out of Oregon, Troy Franklin. And we still have the opportunity for you to earn a shout-out, so don't go anywhere yet if you're still hanging out with us. But here's some background information on Franklin. He's a 6'3", 187-pound wide receiver, finished tied for third in touchdowns across college football or across the FBS, which is really impressive. And he has some horse traits. This is a guy that has elite speed and big playmaking ability. He is a very, very impressive wide receiver. And to be honest, when I was doing my due diligence on this player, I was just shocked. I was impressed that this guy hasn't been getting more buzz. 81 receptions, over 1,300, almost 1,400 total yards, 14 touchdowns, which was tied for third in all of FBS, and then an average of over 17 yards per catch. I think that you could take this player and plug him in to this depth chart right here. Michael Thomas, he's not going to be here next year, especially after the Twitter rant that he went on over the weekend. If you missed out on that, I put a video out explaining all of that and going through all the posts yesterday, so I checked that video out after this one. But Rashid Shaheed, he'll be back. He's an exclusive rights free agent. Saints aren't going to let him go anywhere. A.T. Perry, I do think, is your Michael Thomas replacement/successor. Lynn Bowden Jr., Keith Kirkwood are also free agents and restricted free agents on this roster. But I think that going and getting a guy like Troy Franklin could solidify the young wide receiver group. I don't think that you necessarily need a wide receiver round one, but I don't think that that's a bad pick whatsoever. I mean, look at the Holy Trinity here. You got three young, big-time playmakers that are very cheap right now in the New Orleans Saints offense for Derek Carr. You got Chris Olave, who for the second season in a row had over 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns as well. Rashid, the need for speed. Shaheed, just unbelievable football player. So much fun to watch. 719 yards, 5 touchdowns, and A.T. Perry. In the very, very limited sample size we got to see of him, he lit it up with 4 touchdowns. It felt like every time he had the ball in his hands, he was making a big-time play. So I want to ask you guys this question. How interested are you in Troy Franklin? Just give me a scale from 1 to 100. If it's a 1, it means you're not interested at all. I don't want anything to do with this player. I want nothing to do with him. Don't even think about drafting him. 100, the Saints don't draft him. You might just turn in your Dat Nation fan card and never root for this team again. So let me know. 1 to 100, 100 being you really like or you're very interested, 1 being not interested at all. So playing devil's advocate here, I do think that it's important to kind of talk about this idea here. So the Saints could use another young and cheap wide receiver. I mean, like you saw the depth chart. They could use the help. The offensive line and defensive line, in my opinion, are the biggest needs this offseason. And here's the thing. This draft class is loaded in the trenches. You have so much talent in every round on both sides of the ball in the big guys that I think it's impossible for you to not go and address it in the draft. But here's kind of like the thought process you could go here. Either A, you draft a long-term offensive line prospect that can be your Ryan Ramczyk replacement, that can maybe take over for Andrus Peat or make that Trevor Penning pick feel a little bit better, move him into guard or something. But the other option is you bring in immediate help in free agency and you spend a little extra money to bring in a guy who can be an immediate impact and help out this team today. Not a guy who will be, around with the Saints for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years, but a guy who could be around for 2, 3 years and protect Derek Carr while he's still in New Orleans. But that's kind of all we got for you today. And if you want a shout out, I told you we're going to have it for you. So it is carnival season. Mardi Gras is just a few weeks away. So if you're pumped up, just give me a me in the comment section for a shout out. I had to whip out the Mardi Gras polo today, man. I was looking in the closet. I was like, dang, it's a fresh ass polo. I got to rock that thing today. So that's what we're doing. And if you're pumped up for Mardi Gras, give me a me in the comment section. And we'll see you live tomorrow at 4 p.m.